What's up, everybody? Jeremy Gerard from Four Horseman Studios here with one of my short customizing tutorial videos. Today is a little bit of an explainer video. I want to answer a question I see a lot of people ask, especially a lot of people that are new to the Legions lines or new to Legions customizing. And that's the difference between 1.0 figures, 2.0 figures, and 2.0 versions of figures. Yeah, definitely some confusing terminology here. So let's talk about what that means. So if we go back a little bit, the first Mythic Legions Kickstarter that ever happened in 2015, early 2015. The first wave of Mythic Legions was offered via Kickstarter. Now, that wave didn't have a name to it. It was just called Mythic Legions. There was no name. After that wave was done being solicited, people started referring to the follow-up wave as Mythic Legions 1.5. So that first wave started being called Mythic Legions 1.0. It was never a name that the studio gave it. It was a name that the fan base gave it. So the studio just embraced that and kind of adopted that terminology. That first Mythic Legions wave, even today, is known as Mythic Legions 1.0, or Wave 1.0. The second wave is called Wave 1.5. The third wave was being called Wave 1.75 until it actually came out. When it came out, it had the name Covenant of Shadow. That wave started being called that instead. But that first and second wave kept that 1.0, 1.5 terminology. Now, when the second big Kickstarter happened, that was called Advent of Decay. That wave introduced a number of new body styles. That wave, before it was called Advent of Decay, before that name was revealed, once again, fans, their terminology was Mythic Legions 2.0. Now, this provides some confusion because if you think about things like software, 1.0, 2.0, that usually means an upgrade. It's a new version. It's a better version. It means that 1.0 is obsolete. 2.0 is what we're doing going forward, right? That's not what we're talking about here at all. What ended up happening was the first Mythic Legions wave introduced a number of body styles, okay? The original knights, the original like big, orcs that were in there, the original skeletons that were in there, even the dwarves that are a little shorter in stature, but their body parts are all compatible. All those parts from the first few Mythic Legions waves were compatible. The second Mythic Legions wave included a lot of those parts, but it also introduced a different body style, a thinner body style, a smaller body style for elves, for females, and for goblins. Now, the 1.0 body style and parts, for the most part, do not work with the 2.0. They're not compatible. All 1.0 parts are compatible within themselves. All 2.0 are compatible within itself. There's a few exceptions, some shoulder pads and things. And certainly as a customizer, you can make things fit. But at the basic level, 1.0 parts and 2.0 parts are different. So that's how the terminology started happening. Because it was Wave 1.0, people called the parts introduced in that wave 1.0 parts. Because the second big update on the line, Advent of Decay, they called that 2.0. Those parts became known as 2.0. Let me show you what I mean right here. So this is a graphic. There's an article on Source Horseman about popping apart Mythic Legions figures. And it includes this kind of exploded view of these two figures. So over there on the left where it says 1.0 style, you can see that that is a Templar Knight Legion builder. On the right, we have the 2.0 style. That is a Goblin Legion builder. So those parts, these are how these figures pop apart. These are how the library of parts are assembled, both from our perspective when we went and make new figures, but also from a customizing perspective when people want to pop and swap and mix and match. You can see these are two slightly different, similar build, but they are slightly different sizes. And this is the difference between that 1.0 size and that 2.0 size, okay? Now, let's add another level of confusion. There's another thing that got introduced called 2.0 versions. So here on the screen, you see Sir Gideon Heavensbrand. On the left, you have Sir Gideon Heavensbrand as he was available in the first ever Kickstarter, that 1.0 Kickstarter. On the right, you have the newer version that was introduced in the Mythic Legion's Necronominus wave. Now, that figure, that wave is not available in hand yet. That was pre-ordered last year, and it is in the pre-production process now. But this is something that, as the line has progressed, certain characters have gotten updated versions. You can see the difference between these two figures. The 2.0 version, the Gideon Heavens Brand 2, that is an upgraded version, okay? The armor is brand new. The parts were created specifically for this character. So that adds a little bit of confusion as well, because a lot of people call this Gideon Heavens Brand 2. Some call it Gideon Heavens Brand 2.0. I've even used that terminology, mixing and matching, in this particular video. So that is the confusion. When you are talking about this, you got to be very clear whether you are talking about a 1.0 compatible part, a 2.0 compatible part, or a version 2 of the figure. Yeah, definitely not the easiest terminology, but once you're in the line, once you get used to it, it does all kind of make sense. Hopefully this will help you. I am going to do another video, a follow-up video, that is going to talk a little bit about compatibility between these pieces and compatibility between Mythic Legions and Cosmic Legions, because that's a whole new universe of customizing potential that we now have available to us. If you find videos like this one helpful, please give this video a thumbs up. Certainly, if you have any comments, add those comments so I can answer them. And if you find the channel educational and enjoyable and you're not following it already, please consider doing so you are notified when videos like this go live. Until then, I can't wait to see what you make.